Good evening and welcome once again to another hour of the loveliest sounds on the planet, as I like to call it, God's music. And didn't much get more godlike than that. That was, of course, the mighty Rush kicking things off with an aptly titled track, something called The Spirit of Radio. Right, we got a cracking and a very full show for you tonight. I got actually a couple of guests. Very, very shortly, in about 5 minutes, I'll be talking to Bob Poole, who, as hopefully some of you out there will know, was with a new wave of British heavy metalers, Chevy, who I had the album from way back in the early 80s, and they were definitely one of those bands that should have made it. They were damn sight more talented than quite a few that did make it. I'm not mentioning any names, but yeah. Anyway, so we will be talking to him very shortly, and then a little bit later, I'll be having a chat with Tony Wright from, I think you describe them as up-and-coming rockers, Havana Rocks. They are a seriously good band, and as I said, I will be talking to him a bit later. But let's get on with a bit of Chevy now. As I said, we'll be talking to Bob very, very shortly, but this is the title track off their album, something called The Taker.
Your love for sale goes to the highest bid.
Chevy with The Taker, and as I said, that was the title track of the album they had out in the early 80s, and now hopefully, well, with a bit of luck anyway, we should have Bob on the other end of the phone. Are you there, Bob?
I'm here, Roger. How you doing? You all right?
Lovely. I'm absolutely fine. Yeah, and thanks for joining me this evening. Anyway,
good to talk to you.
It's it was as I think I was mentioning to you earlier on the phone before the show. Actually, I think I did actually have your album originally, but as my luck generally has things, you'd split up, and I couldn't actually get to see you.
You found it on the Where Are They Now file, didn't you?
Yeah, that was from that. Yeah, that'd be the Spinal Tap one, wouldn't it? I know. So, I was going to say before. I mean, we'll obviously get onto kind of stuff that you're all currently doing, but yeah. So, I mean, as I mentioned on the show, I just always loved the band. They I just always thought they were a heck of a lot more talented than certain bands that did actually make it, as I just mentioned. Not that I won't mention any names or something, bound to shoot me. So yeah, it was just sort of a brief background of the band. I mean, obviously I assume it was late 70s. Actually, Chevy started.
Well, basically what happened simply is that there was a group in 1968 called Cuba's Inspiration, had a big hit with a song called Yesterday Is Gone. And about a year or so after the band had that hit, the singer went, and the record company asked Martin Cure to join as a singer because he was in a band at that time called Still Life, which are quite a cult band now. They've got one album, it's still being bought all over the place.
Oh, right.
Album, actually, if anybody wants to hear it. Still Life, and he joined because at that time Still Life had just split up, and it was a pop group, but it was always a bit more rocky than poppy, even though they had a couple of hits. In fact, they were too rocky when they first. At that time, they weren't really getting a lot of gigs because they were getting paid off in these places.
Oh yeah,
because they were too loud and too heavy. And about a year or so after that, Paul Shanahan was drafted on guitar, and I was drafted in not long after on bass, and. We sort of actually revitalised the band, and in the end the band was really working a lot and earning a lot of money. But we always were a bit rock-orientated, and we were doing that because it's better than working at a factory. It was a professional job. But the guitarist and I started writing songs, and then towards the latter part of the 70s, we decided we'd form a rock band. That's what we wanted to do with the songs of our own. Brought in another guitarist, Steve Walwood, who at that time was playing with a local band, and we'd seen him, and we thought he was good. He's now with Dr. Feelgood, by the way.
Oh, right.
21 years with them. He played with Steve Marriott and a few other people before, after he left Chevy. So he's done all right for himself. But that was the Chevy lineup at that time. And so, of course, we had a head start in a way because we'd been playing up to 7 nights a week solidly for years. So it was a really tight band. So just adding Steve in and then doing our own stuff, the band was pretty hot from the start live. And we found that we had a penchant for songwriting. Martin had a great voice, and we had the vocal harmonies to go with it. So we decided to go for the songs that we wanted to do. We always had a big love for American rock bands for the top end of the sound, but English for the bottom end, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
So we decided to go for a combination of the both. That was the idea behind it, really. And that was the direction we automatically went in. People like Wishbone Ash with the twin guitars, and a bit of Thin Lizzy was around, and at the same time there were bands in America with those really nice toppy harmonies that we liked.
Yeah, because I was going to say, actually, there's the kind of sound of it. There wasn't a lot of. I mean, the only one that I can think of was kind of Wildfire. They were kind of almost ahead of a lot of the other new wave British heavy metal bands. You had a lot of harmonies going on and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I always felt we were a bit pretenders when they put us in as a new wave of British heavy metal band.
I think it was just kind of when you came out, though, wasn't it? I think
we weren't so much heavy metal as hard rock.
I know. I think people did get bracketed because it was the same sort of audience in the same kind of years, wasn't it?
That was it. So, I mean, after that, what we did was we sat down we built a little recording studio in the drummer's attic, and we recorded on a 2-track machine, bouncing tracks, and did a demo, sent it off to every record company in London, never got a reaction from any, and then we got one from Bronze Records saying, thanks for the tape, but there's nothing on it. We'd forgot to put the music on that one, and that just piqued their interest. So when we sent them the next tape, they actually got us on the Metal for Mothers album, the EMI were releasing at that time, and put a track on there, which was only a demo. Actually, it was a horrible recording, but it didn't matter. And that was of what song was it? Oh, it doesn't matter. I can't remember now. And anyway, after that, the guy from Bronze went to a new record company called Avatar, and they approached us to sign us up, and that's how we did our first albums through them.
Oh, blimey! So it can pay sending blank cassettes off to people.
Yeah, it actually did, because they said, "Oh, thank you very much for the cassette, but there was no music on it. Will you send us another one?"
Well, at least it kind of proves that occasionally they do listen.
Well, we were sitting there like a factory, an industry. We were just banging out cassette after cassette after cassette. set, hours of mind-boggling work just to try and get somebody interested. You know, we were very enthusiastic, and you know, we were working the building the show up. We were still playing gigs for Cuba's Inspiration as our income.
Oh, right.
We built up the Chevy shows, and so of course we go to a big posh nightclub. I won't mention any names, where they've got thousands of spotlights. And we'd steal one because they never missed it. And we kept doing that till we built up a light show. And, you know, you do what you have to do to
you do, don't you? I mean,
get where you want to be.
I mean, well, quite honestly, if they had 300, you know, 299 or 300, you know, what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. So in the end, we had a huge rack of lights, and we bought PA stuff and built a big PA up of our own. We didn't depend on other people to do it for us. And we started. There was in Leamington Spa, which is where we lived. That's near Coventry. There was a pub called the Crown, a right shithole place. And but the guy there was a cool guy called Bob something. He'd been he'd played in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. He was a right funny guy.
Oh my God! And
we persuaded him to let us do a Thursday night residency there. And what we did was to go in every Wednesday with a load of acrodes from a building site and planks and build a 20 foot by 24 foot stage. Carpet it, do it all up, and the next night put all the lights up, and the next night do the gig. And we started playing Boston and covers that other bands in this area couldn't really manage, and then slipped our own songs in. Until in the end, we were just playing all our own stuff, and we got like 200 people coming every week. And that, in the meantime, sending off these tapes. So that's how we formed the band, really, and developed it.
I was going to say, it did actually. It did kind of. Actually, that's quite a clever way of doing it. Kind of throwing your own stuff into the middle of the covers.
Well, desperation will take you anywhere. You know, I mean, we knew what we wanted to do. We just had to find a way to do it. So, like I said, it was all hands-on stuff, really.
No. It was because I was saying. And when did the album actually, The Taker, actually come out?
1980.
It was 80, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, after that, it all goes horribly wrong as it does. The record company, we made a big mistake. About 2 weeks after we signed to them, we played a gig called the General Wharf in Coventry, which was a smelly old rock gig, and a load of record companies came, and they all wanted to sign us, and we'd just signed to this Avatar company.
Oh, right. So you were kind of stuck to them.
And it wasn't the best move. I mean, we should have known better. We've been in the business long enough. But what we did, a mistake that bands should note and not do. Don't sign your management to the same people. Don't have your managers as the same people who own the record.
Oh, they were the same guys.
It's called cross-collateralisation, I've been told since. And they also own the publishing company. So it meant that when we weren't getting our money and went to our managers to tell them to hassle themselves, they weren't doing it. And, you know, so the bullshit started. 40,000 albums were pressed. We never saw hardly a penny of any of it. The usual. We'll pay you a wage every month, lads. It's better than advance because that way you'll always have money. And of course the checks get...
I know. It's bad.
Went on and on.
I mean, the kind of bad thing is, I'd say the amount of men, obviously know a few of the guys, let's say Jeff from Wildfire and Weapon and things, and unfortunately it's a very familiar story in those days, isn't it?
I mean, the record industry, it's probably the dirtiest industry you can get involved in.
And I was going to say, I think...
There are some good people, but the majority of them are not.
No,
They're not interested in music like it used to be in the old days. The old A&R guys who would sign up anything that was interesting, that they just want to make money fast.
No, it's just it's purely commercial now. The kind of I wouldn't even say the music takes a back seat sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't even come into it at all.
Yeah, well, it's true, I suppose. I mean, I'm not bitching about it. I mean, I'll laugh about it now because, I mean, shit happens. And, it was our fault. We made the wrong deal. And then we made the worst business move we could have made after that, and that was 3 weeks before the second album, which was going to be a killer. We had wonderful songs, I swear. And 3 weeks before we were supposed to do it, we sued them for breach of contract and left. We should have done the album first.
And then sued them.
Queen did, bite the bullet until you get to the third one, and then tell them they shut up. And we didn't. And the thing is that what happens in London then is they put the word around, don't touch them, they're trouble, and then you can't get another deal very easily.
I know, but I mean, hindsight's a great thing with lots of things, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, especially when you're young as well, I mean, the record deal thing is, it's always that risk if you turn that one down when another one come along.
Of course, that's the thing, yeah, you're always over a barrel a bit, you don't know how long to hold out for. Like I say, none of us care about it anymore in that respect, but it's good information for any young bands to watch out when they're signing up to anything.
I think so, yeah.
Very careful. But on the other hand, we had a fantastic time. We toured with Alvin Lee, we toured with Hawkwind, we did some brilliant gigs, and the band were really, I mean, not because I was in it, but they were a fantastic live band because they've been doing it for so long anyway.
Well, yeah.
And the shows were great, and the audiences loved the band, and it was a fantastic time. But after about a year or so of that, and you can't live on nothing, and we were used to having a good income from the Cubas days.
Yeah, of course.
Our standard of living was slipping, and it came to the point where we said, well, we've kind of had enough of this, really. Let's just let's knock it on the head. We couldn't get a second deal when we wanted one. So after that, we formed, a year later, a band called Red on Red, with 2 keyboard players, 2 guitarists, Martin, and some of the core members of Chevy. And we were on a huge radio show. It was broadcast all over the world. We were the only unsigned band on it. It was in Liverpool. It goes every year to a different country.
Oh, right.
And we had CBS from London come up and say, what the hell are you doing here? We need to sign you. But the A&R guy that wanted to sign us, there were 3 other ones in the office, and the meeting didn't go his way, so we didn't get signed. And we said, well, we're not waiting any longer than a year. So after that, we sort of went our separate ways. And as I said, after Martin was singing in a couple of bands, but he formed a great PA company. He's a really good sound guy, the singer, Martin Q.
Oh, right.
He's got cable PA, and he's done a lot of big jobs with that. Steve Owen, as I said, he was playing with Steve Marriott, and then with Dr. Feelgoods. Paul Shanahan said, that's it now. It's about time I started thinking of my wife and kids and got himself a job. And now he's a director of a company, a marketing director of a big chemical company.
Oh, so he totally left music.
He did for that time. And Chaz Chaplin went to live in Gloucester, and he had a market garden, the drummer, Andy Chaplin, and he was promoting gigs down there and doing some playing. And
I was going to say,
who was the other one?
He's only about 5 miles from me, strangely.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the way it went. I mean, there was 2 lineups of Chevy. I mean, a lot of people know, but initially Steve and Chaz departed from the group. Steve Walwyn and Chaz, the drummer, Andy Chaplin.
Oh, yeah.
And we replaced them with Ted Duggan and Baz Eardley, who are absolutely frighteningly great players and, out of this world drummer and lead guitarist. And we went on like that for a while, and it was really great. But like I said, we couldn't get a record deal. If you haven't got the support, when you're trying a big organisation with wagons, PAs, road crews, it comes to a point where it's just not viable, And sad as it was, that was the end of it at that time. I went off to Germany and lived there for about 18 years, where I played in different bands, wrote, produced, did all sorts of stuff, travelled as far as China with music. It was great. But then I came back to England 3 years ago, and it was the 30 years since Chevy split up, so we were persuaded to get together and do a reunion gig. And we did it with all 3 lead guitarists and raised £2,700 for Macmillan nurses. It was great fun.
So I'm assuming it was, from that amount, I assume it was kind of very well attended then?
Yeah, rammed, yeah.
It was, so is that in your backyard? That was up at in the Midlands, I assume,
somewhere? I was in the Midlands at a big hall in Leamington Spa. It's called, what's it called? Whatever it is, big hall, yeah. But
something or the other.
Packed. And like I say, we didn't want to do it for money. If we were going to do it, we did it just for fans of the group. We travelled from all over the country, in fairness, some from abroad. And we had a marvellous night, but it's something you can't really sustain. At this time, everyone's doing their different things. I've got a lot of projects on musically. Paul Shanahan now, after the reunion concert, started playing again.
Oh.
We've actually formed a band, me and him, with a singer called Paul Thomas, who's got a wonderful voice. He used to be in a group called the Peppermint Circus in the 60s, then he had a few hits in Scandinavia with Hard Horse. He's on vocals and drums, and we're doing covers, like 60, 70 bass covers, but we're doing them our way with 4-part harmonies and our own arrangements, real rocky.
Oh, right, so that sounds, that's...
So we've got Paul Shannon playing again. Martin Q is now singing part-time in a band called The Rogues, who are a great R&B band. Everybody's still playing. I mean, Ted Duggan, the drummer's playing in a Pink Floyd revival band and something else, and the other guitarist, Baz Eardley, and myself and another drummer have got a 3-piece classic rock band doing Who and the Hendrix, Cream, and all that kind of stuff. The Motivators.
Oh, right.
They're doing really well.
So you're all well. That's all good. It's all good. You're still doing. I have to ask this question. Is there anything in the future you may possibly get together for a 1 or 2 off gigs? Should we say?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, to put that band back onto the stage, it took a hell of a lot of work after all those years. I mean, those songs are not that simple. There was a lot of work and rehearsals to get it done, and it took quite a lot of time and quite a lot of effort to do it. I mean, the one thing there's a small thing. There's a record company in Japan that are going to re-release the album over there, and they did ask me where they could get. We did 2 Radio 1 concerts at the BBC, and they wanted to know where they could get the tapes. I told them they could license them, and they're thinking of releasing the album with, if they get round to it, the 2 live-in concerts on it as well.
Oh, right.
If they do that and it does anything over there, they said, would you like to come over and play a couple of gigs, Spinal Tap again? So maybe, if there's any money in it and any fun in it, or one or the other, we might very well do it.
Well, I was going to say, if it was only a week, and it's got to be worth it to get Nigel Tufnell back if it's a Spinal Tap one.
That's right, even Nigel could come back, yeah.
I know.
And in the meantime, I've been involved in these two bands I just told you about. The Motivators doing the rock stuff, and the Firm, which are doing the 60s sort of bass.
Oh, right, yeah.
Poppy. I've also got another band called Side by Side, which does 50s and 60s music, because they help earn some money, and they're really good musicians in that band. And I was doing a solo show for years in Germany, where I was travelling as far as China and playing.
Oh, blimey.
Company events and stuff.
So you're musically fairly busy, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, but there's something coming up on the horizon next year, which is going to eclipse all of that.
Okay, well you'll no doubt be telling us about that nearer the time. I should imagine it's something you can't let too much of the cat out of the bag.
You know the Edgar Broughton band, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah. Well, Edgar Broughton, I've known him for a long time, and he got in touch with me a few months ago and said he wants to do a special project, and he wanted me to play with him and work with him on it. And,
right.
And so we started work. I can't tell you much about it. I'm not allowed to right now.
No, I know it's.
But it's going to be awesome when it's done. It'll probably be next year before it's ready, but when we walk on stage, people are going to be blown away. It's incredible. The songs he's writing, you wouldn't believe.
Well, no, I was going to say, I mean, when it's all something that's so shall we say, public information, then we can have you on again, and you can give us all the lowdown on it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, but, so that and other few songwriting projects going on and things. Yeah, so I'm keeping busy, and I think the rest are as well. Some of them are now working day jobs, but still playing, you know.
Well, yeah, no, it's good that they've kind of carried on, and but yeah, no, it was lovely to have you on, Bob. As I said, it was a personal favourite of mine years and years ago. The album, in fact, I've still actually got it now. I've been listening to it for about the last 30 years.
Well, it's good of you to say so. I wish we'd had a better producer, but even so, the songs weren't bad.
The songs were very and I say the songs. I mean, in fact, we're going to do another one in a second. Something called Skybird, which is just an absolutely lovely song.
That was the most popular song of all of them.
I think so, yeah, and it's and I mean, people. I'd say people. There, a lot of your stuff's all over YouTube. There's there's a couple of videos from I think the Takers on there, and there's a live thing of Skybird, but there's a load of just audio tracks on there with I think.
If anybody wants, by the way, if anybody wants a DVD of the last concert we did last year.
Oh, right.
There's a live DVD, and they can get in touch via me or yourself, and put them in touch with the person who's got these, and they're only £10.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And
if any old fans just wanted something to remember.
And I was going to say, if you're, what's the best place to get in touch with you on Facebook?
Well, you can, you can contact me on Facebook.
Probably Facebook.
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 Actually, Skybird. I'll just tell you one thing about Skybird. That was actually the very first song we ever wrote together.
Oh, right.
The very first song.
Blimey, that's not bad as a first effort, you know.
No, we were still playing with keepers, and myself and the guitarist worked out the music. And we gave it to Martin Cooper, who was actually ill and couldn't sing, so we went off and did a couple of gigs, Chevy gigs, Cooper's gigs without him.
Oh, I see.
And when we got back, he'd written these lyrics, and it was great, I thought. And so that was the very first song we wrote. It actually ended up being one of the most popular.
No, it's just a very, very classy song, as people will hear in a minute. But I'll say, again, thanks, Bob. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Anytime, Roger. It's a pleasure talking to you. And I must say that it's radio stations like yours that you're like the old pirate stations. It's people like you that go out on a limb and take the chances to do what you do that keeps this kind of music alive and reaches people that would never hear it otherwise. I think it's great. Job.
Well, it is. And I say it's not. It's the same as I say what a lot of you guys do. It's not exactly something I do for the money, put it that way. But you know, it's it's just something I like to do. And thing is, I know it's good music. I just have to convince everyone else.
Well, it's like I say, people like myself. We appreciate what you do very much.
Thanks a lot, Bob. That's obviously nice to hear from someone like you. But so hopefully we will talk again soon when you've got obviously news about the Edgar Broughton stuff and anything else going on. But as I say, what we're going to do now is have a bit more Chevy, and this is going to be something called a Skybird. But Bob, thanks again for joining me.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Roger. All the best.
Okay, you too. Okay, right. Bye bye.
Watching a bird on the wing, flying so high and
Chevy with Skybird, and a big thanks again to Bob for joining me on the show tonight. It's just great talking to him. One of the better bands from that era. They were just amazing, and that first song to be writing that, ain't bad going really. Well done, guys.